Hey, Mark, what are you
All
thinking
right,
about?
well, I'm just pondering DC's all-in era that we're in.
Yeah. Yeah, what's going on with that? We should talk about that. You know what? Let's talk about that right after this. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget the like button. Leave us a comment and hit the notification bell so you're alerted whenever we upload new content. Um, this is a bye week for the absolute line. So we just thought what we might do is kind of go back a little bit and talk about DC's All In initiative. Although Absolute is part of the All In initiative as well, but exactly what it is, what some of the storylines have been in some of the main titles, and just kind of catch everyone up to speed if you haven't been watching or reading the online, and maybe this will pique your interest, and maybe you'll get out there because there really is some great stuff going on in online.
Yeah, the continuity is tight. We got a lot of characters that a lot of people miss often that they say they want to see more of. We're seeing them, and it's a great jumping on point is the biggest thing. If you don't know where to start, this is the time to dive in, get your feet wet, get a little sampling, see what you like, and uh,
Right.
and keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. So All In is basically it came out of the end of Absolute Power. It is the initiative that DC had, and basically what happened is in September, all of DC's titles basically kind of wrapped up their storylines or kind of made a breaking point. So that after Absolute Power, besides the Absolute Universe, all of the titles would kind of, I know they do this a lot, but all of the titles really kind of have a jumping on point, like you said, with the October titles, and that's kind of the all in. So lots of titles had new creative teams on them. Many of them started, brand new storylines. Lots of different things going on in the different
And
titles.
some titles just all out started.
Correct. We also have got off the top of my head, I can think of at least six new titles that actually
That's a
started
lot.
as well. Exactly. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the titles that we have that's going on, and what are some of the things in the different titles that are going on. Let's start with the Trinity, the big three. Always got to start with the first one. It's Superman, right?
It is. And
So
look at that
this,
cover. Oh my
I
god.
know, right? And that's actually the one that comes out this week, right? I think,
Yeah, that's
right?
coming Wednesday.
Yeah. So as you can see from the hand there, the big thing with All In and Superman is the return of Doomsday. It was kind of foreshadowed in some of the last issues before All In started, but it's kind of a little twist on. It's not your normal, right now anyway. It's not your normal Doomsday Superman knockdown, drag him out fight. At this point,
No.
it
And
probably
on,
will be at some point.
and on top of that, with the all in part of this whole thing, what's new about this title is Super Lois here. At the end of Absolute Power, when all the heroes were returned their abilities, some of it was a little cattywampus. Some people didn't get their powers back and are still seeking them. Some people got their powers back, but they're a little off. And some people flip flop powers. And it looks like Lois was one of the people affected by the power returning to Superman, as we learned in that last issue that she also has superpowers and has been flying around getting used to her abilities alongside Superman. Right at this moment is when Doomsday returns. So it's kind of bad timing.
Right. And, another thing for All In here is we talked about new creative teams. Joshua Williamson is still writing it, but with All In, DC superstar Dan Mora
Dan
is
frickin'
now
Mora.
doing the art on this as well. So, and the storyline basically it starts with the time trapper at the end, Superman at the end of time. Basically, looking
Oh,
back, we come to find out that basically we won't obviously spoil everything, but we come to find out that the time trapper actually is kind of an elderly or emaciated type of a doomsday who is actually coming back for Clark's help, trying to
yeah,
get some
like
help.
Doomsday from the end of time kind of
Right.
thing came back to get Superman to help him, I guess, stop this Doomsday. And also to the point that a lot of this stuff is jump on points. All of it is. But
Right.
if you have been reading, you're also being serviced as well. So this
Right.
Doomsday story was teased like a year ago. They even gave us a Doomsday one-shot to remind the readers where, in fact, Doomsday was. He was dead. He was in hell. And for the past year, there's just been little teases of him, like, punching his way out of hell. Like, even hell itself can't hold him. They don't even want him there. Like, this dude's too much problems for here. So this issue coming out this week seems to be the one where he's reemerged proper. We saw him pop up in the last issue, but time got frozen while Time Trapper and Superman talked. But now it's about to be throwing some haymakers in this issue, I hope.
Yeah, exactly. It's about to hit the fan, for lack of a better term. But so that's Superman. Maybe we'll see Bloodwind again. Who knows? Because he was a Superman of hell.
Brand new Bloodwind. Superman of hell. He's got to be on his tail soon.
You would think so. All right, let's go to Batman. Obviously, Detective Comics. For the other Superman fans in Action Comics, they're still doing their Superman All Stars or Superman Superstars, whatever. But right now, it's Phantoms. Right, it's a 12-part weekly Mark Waid, Clayton Hendry type story that it has to do with Clark going to the Phantom Zone, ending up on Krypton in the past. That's kind of going on. But to me, the heavyweight story is really the one at Superman. So with Josh Williams.
Definitely right now.
Yeah. Detective Comics, Tom Taylor and Mikhail Janine is the new creative team on Detective Comics. They started here after Ram V did an incredible opus practically on Detective Comics.
Yeah, like almost like a 3-year story arc. It was amazing.
Exactly. And so here in Detective Comics, we have, why don't you go ahead and...
So basically, we don't know what we have yet. We've had one issue of Detective Comics, and we get our next one next week. But in this issue, it really just kind of, Tom Taylor has this thing, right, where he wants to tell like these personal, like learn about the character kind of thing. If he's on a run, like he did with Nightwing or Superman, Son of Kal-El, it looks like almost like his version of a deconstruction, but not too heavy-handed deconstruction. And it looks like that's what we might be doing with Batman. We see it in this first issue already, but as not a huge Tom Taylor guy, except for his Elseworld stuff, this was a phenomenal one issue. What we get is a detailed look at why the no-kill rule exists. So Tom Taylor's setting the tone for his Batman and this no-kill rule, and the way that he presents it is with a flashback of Dr. Thomas Wayne saving the life of an abuser, despite the fact that this guy's a terrible person. He's on his table in the hospital, and he took the oath he's going to save his life. And by the end of the issue, we see them being a combative patient, and he forces his way out of the hospital, and it's revealed to be Joe Chill. So they show us that Thomas Wayne saves the life of Joe Chill, that ultimately will lead to his death because, like father, like son, he has a no-kill rule too. Life is inherently valuable. So we've got an interesting first issue. I'm still gonna have to wait and see what we're gonna do with this, but it was worth showcasing for sure. There's a lot of things out there.
Definitely a twist. It's almost like the anti-Spider-Man type thing going on. With instead of Peter Parker, not preventing his uncle from being killed, it's basically Thomas Wayne not preventing himself from being killed. So Detective Comics, the first issue, like you said, I mean, there's you don't want to judge a run obviously by a single issue, but this has started off strong. On the Batman side of things, we basically have Mayor Nakano, who is killed in the first issue, we find out in the second issue. This is Chip Zdarsky still. This is his last run, his last story arc. In the second issue, we find out that the person who appears to have been the person who killed Mayor Nakano turns out to be Jim Gordon, and so that's where we're picking up with the third issue. So lots of big things going on in the Batman world as well. Speaking of big things, and I don't just mean like a big story, but actually like a big. It is a huge
book of the year.
Exactly. It is because just the story. Even if you're not a Wonder Woman fan, if you're just a fan of good storytelling overall, I think you would absolutely love these issues.
Masterclass in storytelling, and this one didn't really reset its. This is the only book that really didn't reset its story arc. This has been 15 issues straight of Diana dealing with this villain called the Sovereign. That's kind of like the government behind the government, the true puppeteers of all things in the world, the shadow government, if you will. And they've come at her from every angle you can think of her, physically, emotionally, mentally, everything. Come at her loved ones. And in this point in the storyline, she's finally coming back at him. It's intense, it's heartbreaking, it's emotional, it's inspirational. The art by Daniel Sampier is top notch. This is the best comic book of the year. It just is. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely the best pound for pound comic of the year.
Yeah, there's just so much emotion that goes into what he's writing. You really feel every single thing that Diana says, every single thing that she goes through. And the other good thing about the two is that these backup stories that they've been having too have been phenomenal. They've all been written by Tom
Oh,
King. Some
this
of them have
one
been
too. Oh
kind
my
of
god.
some of them have been kind of, comical, whatever. When you get Trinity and
The Super Sons.
exactly the Super Sons, they've been kind of comical as to exactly how they play out. The one in the latest issue, Elysium, with Steve Trevor is
Yeah, this
just
issue. And that, to your point, how you said like everything she says is you just feel it. And it's really through the writing. Because if y'all have read this, leave a comment. How did it hit you? That last word. It was just one single word. You get the whole
mhm,
story, and then a question is asked. What more could you possibly want? And just
mhm,
one single word, her. And you're just like, God.
yeah.
And you just feel it.
Exactly. And I mean, and then the main story is basically the Sovereign talking to. In this particular issue, we see the Wonder Woman and her companions are going out to basically destroy the Sovereign's financial network for the most part.
Yeah, systematically dismantling
Right.
it.
And he's wondering exactly, how that happened. And we find out that it's basically Steve Trevor who died. If you talk about heavy issues, read the issue where he died.
Yeah.
Basically, Steve Trevor, before he died, gave Wonder Woman all the information she needed to take this person's financial network
Yeah,
apart.
we
So,
thought he just showed up completely blind, but he did his research.
yeah,
Just wasn't expecting him to be so cold blooded when he got there.
yeah, exactly. Another favorite of mine is Green Lantern. Jeremy Adams continues on this. Um, by the way, the creative team for Wonder Woman continued from before, so it's
Hmm.
Tom and Daniel Sampier. So
Same with this one.
yeah, this is this is Jeremy Adams and Germanico for doing the Green Lantern, and this story actually does too kind of continue from some of the
Hmm.
issues before. This particular book
They did a
actually
fake
did
finale.
yeah, but also they did a really good job. We've talked about this before. If you're ever watching our other episodes of actually the break as part of Absolute Power, they did a really good job of interweaving the Absolute Power
Hmm.
with the storyline that was going on before Absolute Power came along as well. Um, but this is basically we're getting a whole new. We find out beforehand that Earth was quarantined. We found out why. There's Lord Tharos, who is the big bad guy here. He basically has been destroying all of the main worlds that hold the different spectrums. The different
Power
light
battery.
spectrums. Yeah,
Yeah.
the power batteries. And taking them for himself. And then he actually has had the ability to actually instill whatever that particular emotion was in whoever he wanted. Like in Kilowog, he installed, I think it was yellow. He installed
Hmm.
yellow, right? So now we have this storyline going on where we still have we thought Lord Tharos may have been killed in the last issue, but he is still around.
He keeps leveling up.
Yeah, he's still coming around. We had, I mean, if we talk about think about Mogo as a Red Lantern. Um, uh,
Wasn't he wasn't more angry than Sinestro.
that's true. That's true. Who knows how to deal with an angry planet? Um,
Yep.
and then we've had John Stewart in the background, but we also had as part of All In, we also had something called the Green Lantern Corps special that we had, which is setting up, and we talked about this will be some new books coming out. A new book that was just announced in the last list of solicitations is a new Green Lantern Corps book. The Civil Corps, the Green Lantern Civil Corps, and it will have basically all of the lanterns except for Hal. I'm sure Hal will show up at times too, but it'll have John and Guy and Kyle and Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz and I can't
Joe
think of the kid's
Mullen.
name now, but yeah, exactly.
Teen Lantern. What was
Yeah,
it?
Teen Lantern.
Kelsier?
Yep, Teen Lantern. Yep. And then Hal will be the main star of the Green Lantern book. And I'm sure, obviously, since Jeremy Adams is co-writing that book, there obviously will be plenty of crossover between the two.
There
Um,
better be.
Exactly. But yeah, Jeremy Adams is doing the same thing on Green Lantern that he did for Flash. And while we're talking about Jeremy Adams and we're talking about new books, we got Aquaman coming up from
It's
Jeremy
on the
Adams
way.
as well. So he is. I said one time that he's on the Jeff Johns plan at DC because he basically is writing every character that Jeff Johns wrote to get to where he was.
Flash,
So,
Green Lantern, Aquaman.
Yeah, exactly.
Give this guy an event book already.
Exactly. A new book. Well, not a new book, but a new team is Green Arrow. They haven't had their first full issue yet with the brand new team exclusively. I don't believe that comes out this week. I think.
Oh, okay. I thought we got one. Might have been.
We did, but it was the 350. It was and so it had a backup story by the new.
Yeah, 18 drops this week. Yeah.
Right. So we had Josh Williamson was finishing up his run. He did 17 here, which was like Legacy 350, I believe, and it was split with half with him and half with the new artist and writer. And then he did the Green Arrow annual to finish up his run.
That's what it was. I was thinking the annual came out.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a brand new writer. Chris Condon is the new writer on Green Arrow. But he is doing up something. He basically is setting up Green Arrow and Oliver to be. He's taken up his billionaire persona again, and he's going to find himself running what's the word I'm thinking of?
Queen Industries.
You're running Queen Industries, but he's going to run afoul of a whole bunch of people who really think that he should not be running the city. That it needs
Ollie running afoul over somebody.
Exactly. Imagine that.
Say it ain't so.
Imagine that. So looking forward to seeing where that goes. I've always been a huge Green Arrow fan, all the way back to the.
I love his
O'Neill
suit
and Neil
in this
Adams.
era
Exactly.
too.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
armored out suit with the hood on it still looks great.
Coming back with a brand new series. It's a mini series, I believe, but it's The Question. All Along the Watchtower, which that would be a great name for a song.
Yeah, someone should do that.
Exactly. This is Renee Montoya. She has basically been set up as the security person in charge of the Watchtower. Now,
You heard that right.
As part of All In, what happens is the Justice League is reformed. We'll get to that in just a second. But they set up this brand new. They put together in the space of like 52 days. They basically set up a new satellite that it basically is called the Watchtower, and it basically is not only the headquarters of the Justice League of America or the Justice League, whoever they're going to call it, but it is basically. Exactly, Justice League Unlimited. Thank you. It is also the JSA headquarters. It is the Teen Titans headquarters. It is basically everything that you could possibly any hero that you could possibly
Yeah, it was a cool angle.
of.
That not only does it have like the ability to house like the big meetings, but they took into consideration like everyone has their own quarters here. This is truly like the unlimited era where you never know what characters you can see here. Everybody was offered a card to come in, and I think that's also what is going to have ultimately led to this series right here, the story behind this, where we got the first issue and the whole concept of something or someone is trying to break into the Watchtower, like digitally. And you have like Ray Palmer and you have the guys on the Atom Project in there. You have, who was it? It was Blue Beetle and Ted Cord that were actively working on the tech, trying to figure out what's trying to break through. And Renee is tasked with solving who done it and why they're doing it.
Right. And that's the whole big thing is, and interestingly, you can see she's got a holstered on her back. She's got a holstered on a gun. That is actually her security thing, but it has a very interesting, it works in a very interesting way in that it actually can move people to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, her boomstick was given to her specifically by Wonder Woman, recognizing that, we're asking this person to like guard the Watchtower where gods come and hang out. So you're going to need a new boomstick. I'm assuming you know how to use it.
Right. Exactly. And that's the way that people come in and out of the Watchtowers through the boom tube. So besides the fact that they have, this particular thing that's going on, we also have coming out again this week, is Justice League Unlimited. They still have to figure out whatever it was that went on with Darkseid. So they're still trying to figure that whole thing out as well.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get yeah. But this is kind of going to be like the spine of the DC universe, in that everything will kind of flow out of Justice League Unlimited,
Or flow to it.
or flow to it exactly.
Yeah, with no event books on the horizon, this is where you're going to come to really gather all your characters together. It also looks like this is going to be the nexus point for the DC continuity. If you rewind the clock 2 years ago, they used the Suicide Squad book to do that. If you read that book, you can see where it constantly would reference the DC continuity and it would pull stories in for an issue, or they would go out into other stories. And it was really just serving as like that continuity measure stick. And that's definitely what this is going to be. Another book that we didn't mention, but Black Lightning has his own miniseries spinning out of the reformation of the Justice League, as well as the Atom Project. You see Captain Atom down there. There's going to be multiple miniseries that are going to be coming out over the next few weeks that all spin out of this nexus point.
Yeah, and to your point, Black Lightning is, his focus is kind of dealing with metahumans. We have
And Culture Wars. It's in the
Culture Wars,
solicitation.
yes.
I don't know.
The Atom Project is basically trying to figure out if they can get all the powers to the right people and
I'm
take them away
excited
from the
for that
people that
one.
aren't supposed to have them and things like that. So, each series is kind of having its own focus, which is great. And I'm sure you don't necessarily need to read all the other ones to enjoy Justice League Unlimited. But this, again, is Mark Waid and our
Dan
DC
Mora.
superstar, Dan Mora.
Dan frickin' Mora.
Exactly. He is just, I don't know, however much they pay him, they're not paying him enough.
He's busy.
Yeah, he is, exactly.
I hope it doesn't affect his work because he's still doing World's Finest covers.
Yes, yep, exactly, yep. But I'm sure he knocks those covers out probably like that. So
We assume that talent is just easy.
Exactly.
You just knock it out.
Exactly.
Just make a cover.
He does it while he's signing stuff at cons. He's
In between making
he's
the
drawing
freaking-
with one hand and he's signing with the other. But yeah, it is going to be. I can't wait to read this particular issue.
The year's
to
ending
get-
strong with DC Comics, dude.
It really is.
Really strong.
And we haven't even mentioned. We talked about other series that are coming along. We mentioned Aquaman. We mentioned Green Lantern Corps, Civil Corps. We also have a Challenges of the Unknown series coming out,
Which they're front and center and present on the Watchtower. They're the staff.
right, exactly. And there may be something that happens in the question with the Challenges of the Unknown too.
That's what I'm saying. They're the staff. You get to see them there.
Yeah.
And I'm not spoiling any endings.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have Metamorpho is coming. We have a Metamorpho
Very,
series.
very excited for that. You should be on the lookout
coming
for
as
the
well.
Ian Bertram cover for that as well.
Yes.
Holy potatoes.
Yes, absolutely. So lots of good stuff coming out. This was just kind of a small taste of what DC All In is, where if you're not looking, if you haven't been reading it, hopefully maybe something here kind of piqued your interest. Again, all the Absolute stuff is part of the All In initiative too. They're kicking it on the Absolute stuff. The issues are
Absolute
just
Batman, the
selling out
number
left
one
and right.
selling comic of 2024.
Exactly. I think it's up to like this fourth printing already, and it's only like a month and a half old.
Yeah, and the difference between these later printings, because I've been asked about this, there's other books that came out this year that are up to higher printings. The difference between Absolute Batman and those other books that are coming out to higher printings, those other books are doing higher printings because they're reaching for sales. Absolute Batman is up to a fourth print out of necessity. It's sold out every single time. So they'll end up keep doing printings as they're buying them, but it hasn't hit a point yet where a printing hasn't sold out.
Right. Exactly. Like I said, I said a month and a half. It really has just kind of been like 5 weeks that Absolute Batman #1 came out. Because #2 just came out a week ago. So, so it really is just kind of, or 2 weeks ago. So, it is definitely taking the comics world by storm. And they're doing, if you're interested, if you like the black and white stuff, they're doing the noir editions of the first issues as well. So if you were to tack those on as well, it would mean even more. Obviously those do get kind of separated because they have a different title, but it still is Absolute Batman #1. So again, hopefully you guys are out there, reading the All In stuff because it definitely is worth it. We're going to be next week. We've got Wonder Woman, Absolute Wonder Woman #2, coming out after another strong first issue for that as well. So we'll be taking a look at that again. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button. It's right down there. It says like next to it. It's got a thumb like that. Just click on it so you get a little thumbs up. You can leave us a comment. Let us know if you're reading All In. If you are, which titles are you enjoying? Which titles would you like to see us kind of maybe focus on as well? Because the absolute issues are kind of coming out every other week. It seems like there will be more. We're looking at Absolute Martian Manhunter, Absolute Flash, Absolute Green Lantern coming down the road, and
then we'll have a full plate.
Exactly. We'll be going full board by then.
Then once an event starts, we're just going to abandon it all back to our event schedule.
But let us know how you what you like and if you're reading it. So, but that's going to be it. I am Paul. He is Mark.
But we are Legion.
You're now leaving Sector 2850.